NFL trade deadline is today, a move the Rams need to make. Also, big takeaways from the Rams blowout win over the Saints. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you hear podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do us a huge favor. Just past 20,000 subscribers, trying to get to 30,000, 40,000, who knows? So definitely join the party. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Podcast listeners, write us a review or read on the show. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've covered LA sports for over a decade. 24/7 Sports, Bleacher Report, SI, Dodgers Nation. As always, I'm joined by the Rams pre, half, and post-game show host for the Rams flagship radio station, ESPN 710 LA. He's his 11th year covering the Rams, the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers. You can follow him on X at Travis Rogers. And on today's episode, it is the trade deadline day, 4 p.m. Eastern for the NFL. We're going to talk about if the Rams are going to make a move, just kind of the state of the trade deadline, the NFL, other moves that could be made that could impact the Rams. Also, we got our big takeaways from the Rams blowout win over the Saints, and why a change needs to be made for a certain position group. Of course, we know Travis will be fired up about this one. But first, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. All right, Travis, we can kind of actually merge the trade deadline talk with the takeaway for the Saints game, and that is the kicking game. I mean, you got to start right there. Chase Blackburn and Joshua Carty, for whatever reason, whether it be bad blocking, we saw the snap on the extra point. Hey, we know Lace is out, right? I mean, whether it be his fault, blocking, the technique, the coaching, the bottom line is the job is just not getting done. And Sean McVay's already said you're going to bring some guys in to kind of bring some competition for Joshua Carty. I think Jake Moody from the Bears practice squad could be interesting. He came in, it was pretty solid a few weeks ago. So I certainly think at this point it needs to be addressed, because kicking can cost you a championship. And this team has Super Bowl aspirations, and because the expectations are that high, I think it's absolutely something that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, let me start with kind of where you ended, D-Mac, and that is, if they don't fix this, they're not going to do jack squat in the playoffs, right? Like this is how you lose or win playoff games. You know, they're played in the margins. The littlest things make the difference. And if you can't make kicks, you're going to lose. Right? Like once you get into the playoffs, everybody's good. You're not going to play the Saints in the playoffs where it doesn't matter. You're not going to play the Jacksonville Jaguars in the playoffs where this stuff doesn't matter. You're going to play teams like the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, what happened? They lost because they couldn't make kicks. You're going to play teams like the San Francisco 49ers. What happens? They lost because they couldn't make kicks. And it is inexplicable to me how we're going into week 10 and this is still happening. Like, quite frankly, we can blame Josh Carty, and I think that's fair because he's the kicker. You can blame Chase Blackburn, and I think that's fair because he's the special teams coach, and he hasn't been able to figure it out through the first 9 weeks of the season. But I'll be honest, D-Mac, and I know that you feel this way, and I certainly do. We're huge fans of Sean McVay. If this happens again, it's his fault. Like, it's his fault for not fixing it. He is too good of a coach. He's too smart of a guy. He's too well-versed in how football is played to let this continue to be a problem. That he has to fix it, and he has to fix it by taking over the special teams unit himself or delegating it to somebody else. Blackburn's got to go. Carty's got to go. Everybody involved in that operation that you can move on from, you need to move on from, because they will lose a playoff game because they can't make a kick if they keep doing this.
And just imagine that. You put together this roster. You have Stafford playing like an MVP. Devontae Adams, he's catching touchdowns. We know what Puka looks like when he's on the field healthy. The running game is better. I mean, there's so many reasons to feel good about the Rams. I mean, this is a 6-2 team, right? I mean, they're a team that is a legitimate contender in the NFC. And to think that something like kicking could be the reason to stand between you and your goal of getting to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl. You're absolutely right that at this point, I'm looking at Sean McVay.
Yeah.
And Sean McVay can't hide from anything at this point when it comes to special teams dysfunction. And, you kind of look back at it and, you always tell people kind of like ways to watch football, right? Like watch the line, don't watch the ball sometimes, this and that. Watch Joshua Carty look for the rush.
Yes.
When the ball snapped. It's like I almost think there's like a mental block here where he's like petrified that the rush is coming in, because compared to other kickers, it's we saw a dude just make a 68-yarder, man. Like kick 50 yards is like what the new 40 yards used to be, right? Kicking is a major weapon in this league now. And we got a guy that when the ball snapped, it looks like he's just looking for the rush, and he looks like he panics a little bit and he can't get off kick. So it's got to be Chase Blackburn. It really 100% has to. And we talked about it before the show. He's had a lot of guys. Brett Maher, Haversick made a 61-yarder for the Packers. You got Tanner Brown. I mean, there's just like he's had multiple kickers now, and none of them have turned the corner and given you any stability. So at that point, he's the guy who deserves the blame, whether or not it's his fault or not.
Well, it is his fault. It's his job to get it fixed, and it hasn't gotten fixed. And it's Sean McVay's job to make sure that the guy's job it is to fix it, fixes it, or else. And it's not like they missed a kick and they're being reactionary. We're 9 weeks into the season. The kicking game is a fatal flaw. And again, like you just said, you don't need one of those freaks from Jacksonville that can kick it from the other 30-yard line. You don't have to go find one of those. What you need to do is have a guy that can make extra points. What you need to do is have a guy that can kick a 40-yard field goal. They don't even have that, D-Mac. They are running in the opposite direction from using their kicking game. I could list you 10 different examples of where it's been fourth in an uncomfortable distance from a advantageous part of the field, and they decide to go for it just because they don't want to put their kicking game out there. And hey, look, find someone that can do the bare minimum. I don't need to have the valedictorian of kickers in here. I need somebody that's graduated from high school, right? just make your kicks, make the easy ones, make the PATs, make the 35, 40-yard field goals. If we can find somebody that can bang in 50-yarders, great, but I'm not even looking for that. Find somebody that is just the bare minimum of NFL quality. When we're talking PATs and 40 yards and under, they don't even have that. And, I know I'm repeating myself here, but once we've gotten to the point where everybody knows this is a problem and Sean McVay continues to let it happen, at some point it's on him for continuing to let it happen. Try something different. Like we know what we're going to get when this guy comes in. So why are we still doing it? Try somebody else. Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned just wanting someone that can just be competent. I think a silver lining in all of this is you've seen the red zone offense pick up and they're scoring touchdowns in situations and drives where, quite frankly, they just weren't doing last year. So I don't know if there's something to that, a correlation there. Like we're like, hey, man, we got to punch it in because we don't want to leave this up to Joshua Carty. You mentioned valedictorian. Joshua Carty ain't bringing his book bag. He ain't bringing his pencil. He bringing his notebook. I mean, in the offense, they're like, all right, we got this, right? So he's not bringing anything to the group project. So I totally agree with you. And another one we could talk about, we'll kind of push this to the next segment as well, is the wide receiver room. Could you add there because of Puka Nakua's injuries? I mean, we know there's no one here that's going to say that they don't love Puka Nakua. Like, electrifying smile, a top 5 receiver, was an MVP candidate early in the year. Like, this is not a slight on Puka Nakua. We know what he looks like when he's on the field, which is elite. But he gets injured, and it's sometimes an ankle, sometimes the chest, but he misses time. And when he's injured, it does force him to go to 12, 13 personnel. We saw all the tight ends get involved. Higbee had a touchdown. Terrence Ferguson made some plays. I mean, the tight ends are getting involved, but we know that it might be a good insurance policy to potentially go out there and get a third wide receiver. Look, when they won the Super Bowl 56, what did they do? They went out and got OBJ, and they really didn't need a wide receiver.
And Woods was injured. They didn't know that, right?
Right, and Woods got hurt like immediately after, and they were still okay because they had another high-level performer in the building. You said this, I don't know, D-Mac, maybe a month or so ago, like, double down on what you do really well. Like, they need help in the secondary. They go and get Roger McCreary. Okay, fine. We'll see what that looks like when he gets out there. They clearly need help in the kicking game that we just talked about. But I don't hate the idea of going and getting another wide receiver. If it's Puka insurance, great. If it's just throwing another really good wide receiver on the field at the same time, fine. I think one of the things you mentioned that is encouraging is that when they have gone to 12 and 13 personnel, it looks good. Like it looks really good. Like, I mean, you had all four of those tight ends make catches this weekend for the second week in a row. And you got Ferguson is that dude's wide open every time he runs down the field. Parkinson's catching balls. Allen's catching balls. Tyler Higbee scored a touchdown this last weekend. Like, they clearly have some optionality when it comes to that tight end room. But I love the idea of kicking the tires on some wide receivers, whether Puka's hurt or not. I think that it would bring some real energy to that group.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. It could get to a point where there's too many mouths to feed, something like that. But that is a position we know the Rams, they value and that they're willing to give draft capital for. So we'll pick up the conversation on the trade deadline. Will we see guys like Crosby and Hendrickson, guys like that go? We know the NFL trade deadline is not like the MLB trade deadline. You don't get the fireworks. It's always like, it doesn't satisfy. But like Roger McCreary, the big Roger McCreary trade. But love me some Roger McCreary. I think he sounds like he would have the number one country hit. Doesn't he?
It does sound like, a little country western.
He opens up for Morgan Wallen or something.
It does feel like that.
George Strait, Garth Brooks. Okay, I'm at the capacity of my country singers I can name. Brooks and Dunn.
It's the McCreary of it all. Right? Like, if he was Trey McCreary, like, sure, but Roger McCreary, that is he plays the banjo.
Yeah, exactly. I totally see it. All right, coming up, we're going to talk some more trade stuff, and then also talk about the Saints game, because your Rams dominated on Sunday and they're at 6-2. But the real season, I think, starts this week. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
All right, nobody likes paying rent, right? But if you have to, and you do, you might as well get something for it. That's where Built comes in. Built is changing the game by turning your rent payment into real rewards you can actually use. Because when you pay rent through Built, you earn flexible points that can be redeemed towards hundreds of hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and a whole lot more. But Built isn't just about rent. It's about rewarding you around your entire neighborhood, right? Whether you're grabbing food at your local restaurant, heading out to the gym, you're still going to earn rewards. And it's Built has made everyday life feel that much more rewarding, from your neighborhood to your travel plans. So turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnfl. That's joinbilt.com/lockedonnfl. Joinbuilt.com/lockedonnfl, and make sure to use that link so they know that we sent you along.
And we are off running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Okay, Travis. So, the NFL trade deadline is not like, this is Christmas morning or like National Signing Day or a couple years ago, it was like, Saquon's going to get traded and Derrick Henry's going to get traded. Then we got traded. This year it feels like Hendrickson, if the Bengals want a first, not going to get a first. Crosby, they're like, we're going to keep it. It does not feel like you're going to see a big impact trade today. Chris Olave will be very interesting. I'd love to have him on the Rams. But what does your gut tell you, just kind of anticipation-wise? I mean, it's not like it doesn't feel like there's going to be a lot of fireworks today.
No, it doesn't. It's like the baseball in the NBA, half the league, it feels like it moves at the deadline, and big names move at the deadline. It's always really exciting, but football doesn't really work like that. The draft capital that teams covet in the NFL is far too valuable to try to take a big swing like that. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some stuff around the margins. Like you mentioned Olave, I think that would be about as big of a name as you might see move. I guess the one thing that can give you a little bit of hope is that the Rams are one of the few teams that are typically active at the trade deadline. I don't know if McCreary kind of scratched that itch for him a week or so ago, but I don't know if you and I are going to be doing Locked On Rams tomorrow talking about the huge acquisition that they went out and got. It just doesn't feel like that's in the cards this year.
Yeah, no, it's just like, I mean, if like you said, like if the MLB trade deadline or the NBA trade down is like Christmas, right?
Yeah.
Like the NFL trade down is like Valentine's Day, which I consider to be the worst holiday. You know what I mean? Like, can we agree on that? I mean, I don't know where you at. Valentine's Day. First of all, it's like, do you get your mom a Valentine's Day? I've always wondered, like, do you get your mom a Valentine's Day card, flowers? Some people do. I don't. You know what I'm saying? I get her a really good birthday present at Christmas, but like, I don't know, where you at on Valentine's Day being the worst holiday? That's where I'm at. I think it's like completely.
I'm with you. It stinks. It's, it feels like you're being, extorted to do a Valentine's Day sort of thing. And look, here's who you got to do Valentine's Day stuff for. You got to do it for your partner, right? That's something that you got to do. Your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, or whatever. You got to go do that. And then you got to do it if you have a young daughter. Right. That's the other thing. You got to go do a little card, a little bouquet of flowers or whatever, and just, make everybody feel good. But that we got to go out to dinner and drop a bunch of money and buy the gift. It's like, no, I'm out. I could skip that one 100 times out of 100.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's the thing. It's such a money grab. You know what I mean? But I agree with you on the daughter thing. You know what I mean? Like you got to hook them up for at least like a while, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then you got to, and then as they get older, maybe if they don't have a boyfriend, a girlfriend, or whatever they're into, then you gotta hook them up with something. Just, hey, I'm thinking about you, you're great, love you, all that kind of stuff. But it's more check the box than anything else. It's not my favorite. By the way, number one holiday, and I will stand no arguments to the contrary. It's Thanksgiving. It's all the good stuff. So here's what you get. You get the amazing food, right? You get to be with people, friends and family, which at least in my case, I enjoy a great deal. I get to see people that I care about, spend time with them, and none of the pressure of gifts. Just come on over. Let's eat a little turkey. Let's have a little wine. Let's sit around and watch some football. It's like it is by far the best holiday, and you don't have to sit there and go, "Oh, look, I bought you a golf ball organizing, desk set." It's like, what are we doing here?
No, Thanksgiving is you get none of the stress of the Christmas gift. You don't have to shop. The food is awesome. Also, too, this is what I like about Thanksgiving because it's like Christmas is like the end of the year, so it's like it's kind of like the end of the year. Gotta do this. Gotta do that. Like Thanksgiving, you still first of all, it's peak football season too. Yep. So yeah, it's like I totally agree. And then you're also the best part about Thanksgiving too. You're like it's like you can be off the grid for like a 5-day span. You know what I mean?
It's the best.
Yeah,
I will.
This is turning into a holiday podcast, Locked On Holidays. But yeah, I totally agree. But let's get to that Saints game because this Rams team, this was the game we were looking for. Outside of special teams, the dominating performance from start to finish. I had them winning 27-10. They win 34-10. And I think you got to start with, just putting these into perspective, another MVP showing for Matthew Stafford. And the fact is, if we were getting just like a top, Matthew Stafford's just a top 15 quarterback. He's a top 15 quarterback based on the back stuff. We'd be like, you might even sign up for that. The fact is, you get the back stuff, and he's playing like an MVP. Like you could not have gotten a better version of Matthew Stafford through the first 8 games of the season. And if this carries on for the rest of the year, that's what gives you the most confidence that they could actually win a Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, I think there's a lot there. Number one, I think you're right. I think that we're entering that good. Like for the last couple of weeks, it's been like, oh, hey, Matthew Stafford's playing like an MVP. Now I think it's different. Now I think it's Matthew Stafford might win the MVP. That's a different category of quarterback. Like and right now, if the voting went in today, I don't think he gets it. But we're not done today. We're about to go into a stretch of games with San Francisco, Seattle, Tampa on Sunday Night Football. We've got another Thursday night game coming up in Seattle. You got a Monday night game late in the season that may be for seeding. So he's going to have opportunities to make his MVP case because the numbers are there, right? He leads the league in touchdown passes. He's top 10 in quarterback rating and QBR and all of these kind of things. He's played beautifully. That's number one. Number two is he's kind of changed the math on what you're doing this season and beyond. Like you just said, Doug, like coming into this year, knowing you had him, okay, let's take one more shot with him. He's getting older. His back's jacked up, all of this kind of stuff. The dude looks like he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Like you're not racing to push that guy out the door. We'll see what happens. So maybe that first round draft pick that you got from Atlanta last year, which I think you, me, and every Rams fan that was paying attention was thinking, okay, they're going to take these 2 picks to move up and get a quarterback for the future. Maybe not. Maybe you go and tighten up your offensive line. Maybe you go and draft a position of need rather than the quarterback of the future, because this dude is still playing at a very high level. I mean, they are as good on offense as I've seen them in a really long time. They have multiple. Davante Adams and that Stafford connection is really starting to come together. You're starting to see the ball go to a lot of places that's not just Puka Nacua. That defense is lights out, that front in particular. So I think the way that Stafford has played has really changed the math for not only this year, but maybe what happens, in 2026 and beyond.
I totally agree, Travis. I mean, it's totally changed the calculus moving forward, just not this year and beyond. And I remember watching the game this past Sunday, thinking to myself, how old was Brady when he won the Super Bowl with the Bucs? 43. How old was Manning when he won the Super Bowl with the Broncos? 39. Like, this is commonplace now. If you're elite, like if you're like if you have that name on the back of your jersey, like if you have that career. Like Aaron Rodgers' example too. It's not like he's probably not going to win the Super Bowl, but he's given more opportunity. So the truth is, if you're the Rams, if it's not this year and the next year, he could play this year, next year, and then play 3 years with another team. Like that's like he go to the Atlanta Falcons, right? Or he go to like the Dallas Cowboys. Who knows what he could do? But like there will be teams, if he stays healthy, that will give him more opportunities to be their starting quarterback. So. Look. It's all about taking advantage of this window. I mean, think about this. When you mentioned Davante Adams, my favorite thing about the game. I mean, 4 touchdown passes again for a second consecutive week. He's just the 5th quarterback in NFL history to have 20 touchdowns and 3 or 4 interceptions in his first 8 games of the season. That's historic, but it's that first drive. 8 for 8, a TD to Davante Adams. We used to pray for times like these, like the meme says. You know what I'm saying? Like we used to pray for times like these, and we're getting them.
Well, I mean, the Adams weapon at the goal line is something they have not had ever, right? They have not had a guy that can just flat out win in short spaces the way
he's like a basketball player, like posted up. You know what I mean? Like,
no, you can't guard him down there. He's going to score. Cooper Kupp couldn't do it. Puka Nacua can't do it. Robert Woods couldn't do it. Brandon Cooks, OBJ, like those guys don't win like he wins in those tight areas. So that's a very big part of it. As well. And look, this Stafford doing what he's doing is not just, today. I think what you mentioned about, him maybe going somewhere else later on in his career, like kind of a Joe Flacco situation where he knocks around and have arm will travel. But I just kind of want to throw this in here before we go into the next part. Be very careful about wanting to move on from your old quarterback. You look at what the Saints threw out on that field on Sunday afternoon. The Saints have had 9 different starting quarterbacks since 2021. It's only 2025. They've had 9 different guys start a game since 2021, and they've been in the draft. They've gone into free agency. They've done everything you possibly can, and they've come up with 0. They cannot find someone that is an NFL caliber quarterback that they can build around and try to put a team together to go win some games. The Rams have one. Get every last drop of juice out of that guy before you decide to move on to somewhere else, because once you don't have one, there is 0 guarantee that you're going to get another one. And the Saints are the perfect example of, I mean, they were awful, Doug, just awful to look at. And a large part of that is because their quarterback was unprepared for the moment.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the defense going up against Tyler Shuck, because a lot of people expected it to be a rough day and him to be a massive challenge in your first start going against the Rams. The Rams still managed to, I think, exceed expectations. Even against a rookie quarterback, they were that good. And we're going to talk about this defense. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
The NBA is back, and there is no place, I'm telling you, there is no place to get in on the action that's any better than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And even if you miss the start of the game, I don't know, you're making dinner, you're out taking out the trash, whatever it is that you do, right? Or maybe you started to study the game on time and you just want to see who's getting hot, who's feeling it, who's, the guy that's going to make the difference. FanDuel, they got you covered on all that because they have live bets on everything who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine those in-game bets, live bets, into a same-game parlay, which means a shot at a bigger payout. Who doesn't like that? Big payouts, win, right? So every game a little bit more exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. So right now, FanDuel, they're hooking you up. They're giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com right now, sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. So, Travis, the defense, they made life very difficult for Tyler Shuck. Their first 3 drives didn't last more than 3 plays. In the first half, he was on the field for just one of their 2 first downs. I mean, they completely shut him down. They held the Saints to 10 first downs, 2 for 9 on third down, 0 for 2 on fourth down. They had 2 turnovers they forced. I mean, he looked like had the deer in the headlights look against the Rams defense, and they did not make life easy. This defense continues to impress, and even though the Rams offense has come alive, it still feels like the backbone of this team is that defense.
Yeah, I think a good quarterback, an experienced quarterback, a veteran quarterback is going to struggle against that Rams front. They're that good. When you got Jared Verse on one side, Byron Young on another, Kobe Turner, Pruna Ford in the middle, Braden Fisk got in on the action for the first time this season. He picked up his first sack. They're going to give anybody the business. A rookie? Come on, man. That's just a mismatch. And then a rookie on a team that is, suffering from not nearly enough talent. So, yeah, this kind of brings us full circle, Doug. The Rams offense is clearly firing at a very high level. You got a quarterback who might win an MVP. You've got a Devontae Adams who looks like he's been fully unlocked. Puka Nacua, we know who Puka Nacua is. Kyren Williams, by the way, coming in the game after they gave that Blake Corum drive where Corum looked really good. Who looked a little better? Kyren Williams. They need to play Blake Corum more just to get Kyren Williams going to that next level. The defense is the defense. They're going to get after the quarterback. They're really good. It's the special teams, right? If they can get the kicking game from an F triple minus where they are right now to a C, maybe a C plus, you're all right. Right? Like you got the coach, the quarterback, the offense, the defense. Where's your special teams? Don't have a fatal flaw in your football team. And right now they do, because everything else looks really, really good.
100%. I mean, just top to bottom, there's so many position groups. Like you mentioned, the running game got back on track. Yeah. The offensive line looked healthy. It looked good. I mean, you looked at just kind of the discussions we were having about Warren McClendon, Rob Havenstein, and things like that. Matthew Stafford was pressured on just 23.5% of the dropbacks. I mean, if you can guarantee me that for the rest of the season, we can't talk MVP, because we know he's going to make plays if you give him time. And Tyron, 114 yards on 25 carries. Blake Corum, 58 yards on 13 carries. So there's a lot of a completeness to this team and the way they're going out there and doing things. And then Shuck, man. Hey, by the way, I want to give Ross Jackson, I think that it was the thumbnail title of the year. When they drafted Shuck, the thumbnail title was Shuck It. So that's got to be a contender. You know what I'm saying?
That's pretty darn good. That's pretty. Look, I think that the only thing to throw a little bit of cold water on this is the Saints are bad, right? And so like Stafford was in his bag. He's no looking guys. He's doing all the Stafford stuff, which is super fun to watch. And it's the NFL, and you're going to take every win that you can get, put it in the bank, and move forward from there. But the Saints stink. And the 49ers do not. The Seattle Seahawks do not. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers do not. You're getting ready to kind of go into that next 3-game gauntlet where you're going to play against. And by the way, I saw Arizona last night on Monday Night Football. That now that Kyler Murray has been, banished to wherever it is they send those guys, that if they put Kyler Murray back in, great. I'd love to play against him. But they look like they're functioning with Brissett at quarterback. So that's 2 more games. That if he can get through the second half of the season, similar to the way that he got through the first half of the season, I mean, MVP at 37 years old. We've seen it before. Rich Gannon won an MVP at 37 for the first time. So it's not unprecedented, but he's playing so well. It's really fun to watch. It just feels like he's got all of his powers on display. Yeah,
and they got their first conference win. I mean, they dominated the AFC, and they kind of go out there and they beat the Saints. But this is kind of like that feel, the first 30 minutes of a movie, it's kind of like the feel-good stuff. Like there hasn't been like something really wild that's happened yet. We're going to learn a lot about this team in the next couple of weeks. You've got the 49ers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Seattle Seahawks, who've been one of the surprise teams of the NFL. Good. I think you got to take at least 2 of those games to feel good about it, because you can't lose both those division games. So for as good as we've felt about this Rams team, for all of the, okay, like these guys are great, let's glaze them up, let's make them feel good and all that stuff, like all this could change very quickly if they don't go out there and execute and show that, hey, we're not just a good team, we're a great team that can beat division opponents and the best teams in our conference.
You know how I feel about the word glaze, Doug. I can't. I just can't.
I guess it worked. You know, even for me, I felt a little unk saying that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it just is.
I kind of felt a little unk saying that. But you know, man, I work with a lot of like 21-year-olds or whatever. For me, it's like, I don't know. People in the chat, some of these like, no, I'm not gonna pull. I'm not gonna be like, I'm not gonna 6'7" you or anything like that. But like, yeah, like that one. Borderline unk status for me saying the glaze, but you know though, I always, I glaze Shohei so much I should work at a Krispy Kreme donuts. I always say that, but like, yeah, maybe I should ditch that one. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, look, it's not that it's unk, which that I even know what that means that phrase is probably out of favor, because once I know what it is, it's well past its prime. I just find glaze just displeasing to my ears. I just don't like it.
Travis. No cap, you slayed this episode.
You did, slay.
You ate, you left no crumbs. You had so much Riz on this episode. Okay, so bet. There you go. See, man, why are you trying to act like you don't know what's up? Come on.
Dude, I got 3 kids. I got, my daughter doesn't even speak English anymore. I don't even know what she's saying, but
that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's some weird
slang as a foreign language. That'll be her. That's the language she'll take in high school.
The only thing I can kind of figure out is through context clues is what she's talking about. And my youngest one.
So what is it specifically about glazing that you don't like? Because I feel like it kind of describes,
I don't know. It feels yucky. It just doesn't feel good. I don't like it. It's displeasing to me.
Okay. Well, we've praised the Rams over the last couple of weeks a lot. We've praised them. We've given them a ton of credit. We've given them a lot of credit. We've boosted them up. I don't know what the heck.
Yeah. We've given them their flowers. Yes.
There it is. Even that's kind of like slangy these days, the way they use it. But I was going to do over this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McKinney. You follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. You follow the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, at Travis Rogers. If there are any wild trades today, we will go on and do an episode. I'll tell you that much. Sure. So be on the lookout for all things, NFL trade deadline. We'll see what we get the Valentine's Day of the holidays. But that's going to do it. See you guys next time. And until next time, whose house? Locked On Rams house.